thank you for joining us, mate. Can you introduce yourself and also just share what motivated you to start working with a buyer's agent?
Yeah, of course. Uh, I guess what kind of information want to intro? My name's Joel. In my early 30s. I'm married, and yeah, just I started working with Sharp uh, property agents last year. And I've just had we've been so happy with the outcomes here. But why do we start working with a buyer's agent? Essentially, my wife and I, we love the property space. We love the power of property and time combined, and I think it's just one of the best possible ways to set yourself up financially and your family financially. So we've always been interested in going down the investment path, and we've done heaps and heaps of research ourselves, and we just realize the more we research it, we aren't the experts. We don't know which areas are going to take off or which areas aren't going to take off. What you really need to look for, what's actually shitty in a property or what's great in a property. And so the more kind of like cobwebs we found and skeletons we found in the closet of looking to invest, the more we just thought like there are experts out here that know this stuff, that do this every single day. And I don't have the time to become an expert. So why not just go and find those people that live and breathe this and can make sure I get an amazing property. So we want to go down the investment path, but we just wanted to do it, with experts. We kind of thought about like, when you want to start exercising, a PT can help get you there faster, or you go to a doctor because they're the expert, or you when you get a tradesperson to help you do something, there are these people that are experts in what they do. And I was like, surely there is an expert in this space. And it came across buyers agents. We lived in America, and they were a lot more common over there. So when we came back, we wanted to see if there was some here. And yeah, that everything kind of like led us down that path, and we found you at the end of it.
Yeah, awesome. And I know obviously both yourself and Rhianna are very intelligent people, very successful in the business space as well, which is awesome. And I know I do recall our first chat. I know you chatted with a couple of others. Was there anything, I guess, why did you end up choosing us? Was there anything that kind of stood out from us with our first conversation?
Um, I think you had the first conversation with my wife Rhianna, and she was like, "You're gonna love Matt. He's so awesome. He's down to earth." And you're right. I probably spoke to like 10 buyers agents, and there was just like this level of grease in the industry that I wasn't a fan of. Right, like everything was so slick and fake, and they were like kind of promising me the world, or like we can create this perfect plan, and like look at this software and everything, and and that was like alluring, right? Because I love software and I love podcasts, and I love all this shit. Like the presentations were nice, but it didn't sit quite right. And then I chatted to you, and you said something along the lines like, "Look, we just buy you a great property, like that's it." And I wouldn't buy if if I wouldn't buy the property, I won't give it to you. And I kind of love that, right? And so you just seemed like a real person that you I don't know, see down the pub or something like that, right? You seem like a person where someone would be like, oh, my mate Matt, he fucking loves this stuff. You should get on and call with Matt. And it's kind of felt like that the whole time, right? So there was something real and authentic about the conversation with you that resonated that I didn't find anywhere else. And obviously, you you just knew your shit. Like every question I had, you're like bang bang bang. These are the suburbs. These are the yields. Like every you I just knew immediately you're much smarter than me in the space, and I was just like, well, that checks that box as well. You seem awesome. I reckon I could easily work with you.
Yeah, awesome, mate. And it's so good to hear. And you've worked with us on a few purchases, but it's not really our style to have these big, pitch decks and share these amazing softwares. We've got some really good programs that we lean on internally, but I guess without all of that software, you know, what were our expectations with working us? Did we exceed them, the expectations? Obviously, our first chat was pretty, like you said, it was pretty, I suppose, humbling, and maybe without all the bells and whistles. But hopefully, I set the bar low enough that maybe we exceeded some expectations.
uh, no, you've definitely exceeded the expectations, and I don't think the expectations were low at all. I think probably the working nature of the relationship was a lot more casual than I expected. Like I still expected, we'd get these formal emails and like these proper presentations on properties, and it was never like that. It was always just like, we found this property. It's, what it feels like. It feels like when I was younger, and my uncle would be like, I just got a tip on this horse. Put $20 on this horse. Um, and it felt like that, right? Like, I just got this tip on this property. It's not on market. It's just come off for some reason. You can get 50 below asking. And I'm just like, and like that casual nature, I loved it. Right, we just have a WhatsApp group between us, and every time there's a property there, so definitely exceeded the properties that we've managed to get have performed in a really awesome way. And I think where you probably exceeded our expectations more than anything else, one is obviously like the properties have already grown heaps, which we love. Um, but there are a lot of stages to buying a property. And this has been a super busy year for my wife and I. And so I think my head would have exploded going through this process, but you're just like, hey, these three things need to happen. We're on it for you. Oh, we need to organize the build to get, a second quote on this. We've got it for you. And like, I just felt, like there was someone there with their hand on my shoulder the whole way through being like, don't worry, mate, I'll help you. Like it's, we'll get you through this. We'll make sure you get a good property. And probably the other thing that I love was that there was a few times where you're like, hey, you know what? We thought this was a good property. We found out more information. We don't think you should buy it anymore. And I love that, right? Because you're not actually incentivized to do that. You're incentivized to just get a property done and you get paid. But you were like, no, we want to get you something great. And so I love that, pulling out of properties and just making sure that it really was quality at the end of it.
Yeah, awesome, mate. So good to hear those insights from the other side as well. And I think one thing that people don't understand, or certainly they underestimate, well, there's two things. One is how many properties that we would dismiss. Like we're looking at hundreds and hundreds a week. And as you know, working with us, sometimes we won't have anything to share for a few weeks back to back. And it's not to say that we haven't been doing anything. It's more to say, like, there's just nothing really out there that we feel is very suitable or that we're comfortable to share with you. So that's obviously a huge, and I guess that's why we can end up getting these good properties that end up performing, right? Because we've dismissed all these other 300 that other people have bought. And the other one is all the stages that go to it, and it's
Yeah.
probably something that I underestimate, right? I think we've listed them out, and they're in our procedure somewhere, but I think it's something like 28 steps or something, right? From when we've had an offer accepted, right, to
Yeah.
to settlement. So it goes a little bit beyond, yeah, finding your property, great, but then, okay, well, what about building a pest? What about conveyances? What about liaising with the broker? What about getting a rental appraisal for the broker? What is the rental appraisal? Have we already got it? Is the property tenanted or not? Do we need to look at rental ledgers? Do we need to have a look at an entry report from the property manager as well? Who's doing the pre-settlement? Like you said, in your case with the purchases that we did for you, there were a couple of items that needed to be fixed. So who's engaging with the tradesman, who's reviewing those invoices, or who's confirming that those works have been done. So it can be quite extensive and outside and spread well beyond. All right, here's number one Smith Street, and there you go, Joel. That's a good property for you to buy.
And I probably would have expected you, to say, here's the property, see you later once the contract's accepted. But that next process what has been so helpful. And because also like you get a building in pest, and I'm like, oh shit, this is the worst. And you're like, nah, mate, that's like a $50 fix. And I'm like, oh, great. Right. So I haven't seen hundreds of building and pest reports or thousands of building and pest reports, and you have. So having that guidance through there and knowing if something is a problem or isn't a problem, and if it should be double clicked was super useful. So those 28 steps or whatever they were, like it feels like it, but having someone there to just take them off, it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, mate. And I guess, you know, just with I was going to say, just with the trades that we had to kind of get in with your place, and there were a couple of items with that building and pest, and they can look really intimidating if you're not sort of accustomed to them, right? But managing that all the way through to the property manager, and I know things got, it's not certainly all rosy. There was a couple of times there where we were obviously really working hard with the property manager and together with yourself and Rhianna. I think we even ended up swapping property managers if that's correct. So certainly not all rosy, but for us, we want to make sure that you feel supported from the start to the finish, and then beyond, right? Like even just recently, you and I obviously passed on a property that we thought was going to be good for you, but now we've just put the whole search on hold. We feel like over the longer term, it's better that we just wait for the next sort of 6 to 12 months, and then we'll revisit the search in another 6 to 12 months. So I think for us, it's about just building that really good relationship, and we're very thankful and super grateful that we've got great people that we work with like yourselves.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like like a long-term partnership. It doesn't feel like this quick cash grab from you guys to like quickly push a property into us, and that's why, I think the clearest way to show how you feel is to vote with your feet, right? To vote with your money. And then, we went through with other process, and we immediately were like, next property, let's have a conversation with Matt. And I would refer you to everyone and anyone I can. So I've already passed your name on to like a bunch of different people, and I'm like we're not even looking to buy an investment property, but I was like, but when you do, this is the person, right? So there's not often like that. There's a service provider that I work with that just like really sticks out as this is the group to work with. So I couldn't recommend working with a buyer's agent highly enough, or at least the right buyer's agent highly enough. Like I feel like one thing that's probably a little bit underrated is how much peace of mind you get, because investment properties are still risks at the end of the day. They're going to go up, or they're going to be issues, and they're still costing you money. So having that peace of mind is just so worth it.
And it's important that you do your due diligence. Like anyone out there that's looking to obviously engage a buyer's agent, do what you did. Whether you want to speak to 10 or 3 or 50, just do your due diligence and make sure, firstly, you're aligned with that individual, and make sure that you kind of do some background checks, make sure they are who they say they are. And like you said as well, Joel, you want to go to a personal trainer, you kind of want to make sure that they're one of the fittest in the gym. So they're not
Yeah,
just kind of doing it from the sidelines as
that's
well, which I
funny
think is
you mentioned
very
that. Like,
important.
we did ask you how many properties you owned, because I was like, that's important to me. I was like, if Matt is good at this shit, he should own a few properties. And so,
Yeah.
you and Jade owned properties, and I was just like, well, that's enough for me. And when I'm looking for a BT, I'm not looking for a bit of a slob. I'm looking for someone who's jacked. And so,
100%. And that's one thing, you've worked closely with us, but Jade and I are super passionate. I mean, both Jade and I are right now actively looking for properties ourselves. I mean, new calendar year, the first thing we're thinking about is, okay,
yeah,
what type of property are we going to buy? And it's just, we live and breathe it, which is awesome. Talking about your properties though, how are they tracking along? How are they performing? I know the last time we chatted, there'd been a nice little increase there, but where are they sitting now? Or not today, but
yeah,
last time you kind of checked in.
yeah. So bought the properties 6 months ago, or so, or around that, and just got super fortunate, and both the properties have grown a lot. So I think probably, I can't remember what I told you what it was. Maybe it's 100 grand growth across the two of them, which like it's just absolutely wild in that amount of time. So it just immediately puts you into such a better, equity position for whatever you want to do next. And just seeing that growth come so quickly, it wasn't really expected. So it was, we expected growth over the long term, but seeing like a boost immediately, it was just so reassuring that we've gone down the right path. So yeah, a lot of this big portion of growth just, I guess, like, we have our primary residence, but then when you get to the investment space and you see that growth, it's been really exciting for us to show like, oh, growth across a portfolio really starts to like get exponential, and because then you get more usable equity. So that's been great. I think they're both over 6% yields, which is amazing. I mean, I wish interest rates would come down, but it's still great. You know the we're just super happy with them. And both properties, I think we learned a lot in the first two, and the property management side of things was a lot harder than we expected to begin with. And so we end up having to change property managers on both of them, get a little bit of work done, maybe like 5K on both properties. But then after that, now we haven't done anything on them in months. Like they are just completely set and forget. And so once you put that groundwork in, they've just been these amazing assets.
Mm. And a couple of things there that I just want to unpack quickly is, firstly, obviously the property managers, right? Like it's so important that you do your due diligence around the property manager. And I'll put my hand up, like we get it wrong occasionally as well, right? So incredibly important, because they're the gatekeepers to your asset. Right. If,
Yeah.
if you've got an ordinary property manager, it can allow a not so great tenant to come in and occupy the property, and then obviously it can lead to a really poor experience. And then secondly, when you first buy an investment property, there are some teething things. You get a new tenant in place, maybe there are some maintenance items, so it can be a little bit annoying at the start.
Mm.
But provided you get everything on track, it can be hopefully a very much a set and forget asset. And then the
Yeah.
other thing that you touched on around the growth, like It's fantastic, and I think basically both your properties maybe have increased collectively to the tune of around 120 to 130,000 over 6 months, and that's a bank valuation as well, which is sometimes conservative. But the way I look at it is, look, it's an investment. As long as you've got a nice big buffer between what you paid and, of course, what you could sell the property for, it makes me put my head on my pillow at night pretty comfortably, even in my personal portfolio and then also with clients as well. Because if there is an adjustment in the market, 5%, 10%, and there's a decline, because you've already had that large surge, you're still in the a positive position, right? So certainly makes I guess that makes investing a little bit more palatable. And then the other thing is, the more investments you have, the more stake you have in the game, the larger portion you have of Australian real estate. And if your assets are going up by 6 or 8% per annum, the more money you have in the game, obviously, the more that can be turbocharged in terms of increase in value across your whole portfolio.
Yeah.
That's something that people can't. Some people just can't grasp that concept. You know.
Yeah. I felt like, theoretically I could understand it, but until you see it and like the change that has on your borrowing capacity or
Mm.
your available equity, when you see it happen, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Any last closing words?
Um, I guess, just on that property manager point, an amazing property manager makes a world of difference. Like, put the effort in to find a great property manager. It's a world of difference. And, just, and I couldn't recommend, Matt and Sharp enough, right? They do an amazing job. Like, I genuinely tell everyone I can about them, and every property I buy moving forward, I will absolutely go through them. The more I use them, the more you see how amazing it is.
Awesome, mate. Thank you so much, and thanks for your time. Some really kind words there, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure working with yourself and Rhianna. And mate, exciting times ahead as you grow your family. And mate, I wish you both all the very best, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Amazing. Thank you so much, mate.